Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buddhist Society of Victoria Monday evening guided meditation, although I would prefer to call it just a group meditation because you guide yourself in meditation, and I am just here to inspire you, give you some tips. I'm coming to you from Newbury Monastery because we're still having COVID regulations in Melbourne. So, for those of you listened to my talk yesterday, I gave the greatest talk in the world tribute. So maybe today we can do the greatest meditation in the world tribute. Just kidding around, of course, but yesterday I spoke about the Four Noble Truths and how the Four Noble Truths, the whole point of it is to understand suffering, but then to be able to move away from suffering. So we don't just have faith in these teachings by the Buddha, but we actually live them as a lived experience, and we get what is called confirmed uh, confidence. We get not just trust and faith, but we get to actually see and live these teachings by the Buddha. We embody them. And that is what we do in meditation. In meditation, we practice the third noble truth of moving away from suffering. This is what we call the third noble truth meditation instead of second noble truth meditation. Second noble truth meditation is to move towards suffering. Third noble truth meditation is moving away from suffering. So, which one would you like to do today in the guided meditation? Second noble truth meditation or first noble truth meditation? Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like third noble truth meditation today. Today, let's move away from suffering. And that's what we actually. I'm always joking around a bit, but it's very much true that this is what we do in meditation. We move away from suffering. We lessen our suffering. And moving away from suffering often comes down to the choices that we make. And in meditation, we also often are presented with choices of what kind of things we follow and what kind of things we don't follow, what kind of things we go into, what kind of things we don't go into. We often have a choice. We may not always realize it, but we do. For example, you sit down in meditation, and many people will experience a very restless mind. They start thinking about things that happened to them in the past, things they still have to do, maybe later today, might be important things or something, but you have a choice there. Do you follow these thoughts? Do you encourage them, add to them, or do you choose to not follow the thoughts? And maybe today in a meditation, no, we're not going to think about the past. We're not going to think about all those things we still have to do. This is the time to move away from that kind of suffering of thinking. And instead, we are at peace, we are in the present, and we don't think about the past and the future. The past and the future, we think about it so much, but how often is it actually helpful? You can wonder. How often does it actually help? Most of the time, we just repeat the same thoughts again and again and again, and they don't get any better. Yeah. It's often just an addiction to think about these kind of things because it makes us feel somehow important or it makes us feel alive in a sense. Yeah, and it's just a habit of the mind to keep thinking. But we have a choice to not go there. This is just one way that we have a choice in meditation to move away from suffering, to move away from thinking, especially thinking about the past and the future. Maybe you do that and then you start thinking about the meditation, about what is going on right now. That is, again, more suffering. You also have a choice there. Do you think about the meditation or do you just be silent instead? Be quiet and just stop thinking. Yeah. People often ask, how do you stop thinking? But maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the question is, how do you start thinking? Why are you thinking? Maybe that's the question you should ask yourself. Not how do I stop it, but how did I start it in the first place? And how do I keep it going? Yeah, that because you add fuel to the thoughts. You do it, it's a choice. And once you learn that, it actually becomes relatively easy to just decide, I'm not going to think right now. I'm just going to be quiet inside. At least 90% of the thoughts will then be eliminated by making such a decision. And that is third noble truth meditation, because we move away from suffering, because the thoughts are actually so much suffering. They're such a burden. And you only really realize it when you actually are quiet inside and you have moved away from all the thinking. It's like I said yesterday, you're like a tadpole who grows up into a frog and climbs out of the water. Only then you can understand what you have been living in your life before. Because now you can look down upon the water, but not being in it. It's the same when you move away from suffering. Only then you really understand what suffering is. And now thoughts are just one part of the suffering that we can move away from in meditation. But there's also the kind of stress inside our body that is actually often also a choice, believe it or not. Many of the pains and aches that I experience in my body, I have realized are actually I create myself. For example, maybe shoulder aches or headaches are often just tensions that you build up during the day. You're not aware, but you can actually choose to let go of those kind of tensions. You can choose to let go of many aches in your body. And of course, that is also moving away from suffering. Third noble truth, meditation. It goes even deeper than that, because you can even move away from all the bodily experiences altogether. Many of you will have realized during meditation that you stopped hearing the sounds that are going around. You stopped feeling your body, or at least parts of the body. And you always have a choice to go back to the sounds or go back to the body, or you have a choice to stay peaceful inside the mind. That is also, in a way, a choice that's there for you. Do you go for the body awareness or do you move away from it? You will realize that it's actually very peaceful and very problem avoiding to move away from the bodily awareness and just be peaceful inside in the mind. So this is another way that we can move away from suffering. And especially that last part is actually almost literally explained in the suttas as well as a way to create insight into the deepest truth of the Buddhist path. So today I will guide you in a meditation that will last for about 45 minutes, 40/45 minutes, something like that. And we will together move away from suffering. And as I said, I prefer to call just a group meditation because you can only know for yourself how you are creating suffering, and therefore you can only know for yourself how you can move away from suffering. I can give you some general tips in the guided meditation, but you are your own best teacher, so feel free to do whatever you feel is appropriate to your situation, how you're feeling right now, and how your mind and body are like. So, I should say one more thing before we start meditating. After the meditation, after maybe 14 minutes, we will do a little question and answer session. If you have any questions, then please ask them in the chat box, and I will try to see them, and then I'll try also to answer them as best as I can. So let's now invite the bell, and after 3 ringings of the bell, I will start the guided meditation. Just let the sound of the bell bring the present moment to you. Listen with close attention to the sound of the bell. So, when we start meditation, we're straight away faced with the first choice, which is how to position our bodies. And what is the answer to that? Do we sit in the full lotus position? Do we sit with the back straight? Or what is the answer? We just sit in a way that we move away from suffering. So find a posture that is comfortable for your body right now, which is comfortable, but you can also stay alert in. You can choose to sit cross-legged. You can sit upon a chair. You can stand. You can lie down. All postures are possible. Or just find something that makes you move away from pains and aches, move away from suffering. Feel free to just move around a bit till you find a nice posture. And once you find a relatively comfortable posture, we can move away from all the thoughts about the past, all the memories. Why should we keep repeating them? Just let go of that suffering. Tell yourself, I don't need to think about those things. Not right now, anyway. I choose to let the thoughts of the past go. Same with thoughts about the future. We don't need to think about tomorrow, later this evening, later in this meditation even. All those thoughts are suffering, and we can choose to not engage in those thoughts and instead be in the present, just experiencing what's going on right now. So just take all the time you need to arrive in the present or to let whatever is present come to you. It's a different way of looking at it. The sounds, the feeling, the experiences. And if you notice your mind moving away from the present into thoughts again, thoughts about the past or future, then ask yourself, is that really necessary? Does that really bring me peace and happiness? Or does it just bring me more suffering? And if you ask that question properly, you will find the answer is it's just more suffering. So instead, we choose to be here and now. Being in the present moment is really the best way that we can spend this time together. When you get lost in thoughts, just gently, kindly bring the mind back to the silence of the present moment by reminding yourself that this is more peaceful and less suffering. Feel free to spend the rest of the meditation dwelling in the present moment, returning to it whenever you get drawn away. But for those who like to follow me further, we can also let go of certain suffering in the body by relaxing the body, letting go of any unnecessary tension or strain. By sending kindness and ease towards any parts of our body that is aching, that is in tension, that is uncomfortable. Instead of holding the tension there, you can actually just choose to let it go. Pain in your shoulders, pain in your neck maybe, many headaches as well. Actually, we induce ourselves so we can also choose to ease those. So just relax. Let the body settle. We don't need to control it or keep any tension. For the remainder of this meditation, I suggest you just look upon your experience, both mental and bodily. See where the suffering is, and see if you can make the choice to let it go. Any thoughts, emotions, feelings. Can you move the other way? And often you will find that you can. And however peaceful the present moment may become, you might find that it is also a type of suffering to have many kinds of awareness going on, of sound and body, mental experiences. If that happens in your meditation, maybe a good moment to decide to focus on the breath instead. So we have a single point for our awareness, so that our experience can become very simple, very peaceful. You can do that if you feel like it. I will now just let you meditate in quietude, and I will ring the bell in about 20 minutes from now, signal the end of the meditation. Dear friends, we're coming close to the end of this meditation. Please take a moment to reflect back on the meditation. What happened? What did you do? Were there moments you moved away from suffering? Moments you moved back to suffering? And why? And how? So you can take home the lessons for next time. I will now invite the bell, signaling the end of the meditation. And I will do so with a short verse to pay homage to Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away a week or two ago, in whose tradition I practiced for a number of years. With body, speech and mind in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May the hearers awaken and transcend all anxiety and sorrow. In life, we have choices to make. Some choices bring more suffering. Some choices we move away from suffering. Happens in small ways, happens in big ways. Today I was invited to go have lunch at a restaurant instead of in the monastery. Very kind invitation, and I thanked the person for it, but I decided to stay in the monastery because monastery is more peaceful than a restaurant. And if I had lunch in the restaurant, I'd probably have to talk to the person and other monks going along. Instead, I had the lunch in my hut, peaceful by myself. So that's a choice I made to find peace, to find what I consider to be less suffering, with all respect to the person offering that lunch. And in meditation, we often have similar choices to make. We can decide to move towards suffering, or to move away from suffering. Sometimes these choices are obvious, and sometimes they're not so obvious. But it is often a choice. Often it's a choice that we stay with the suffering. And maybe you can learn to recognize that in your meditation. You will recognize it also in smaller ways. For example, often people ask about falling asleep in meditation or just nodding off. And actually, I have realized that often that is also actually a choice that you make. At some point, you might come into a certain state of mind where you can decide to fall into dullness and drowsiness, or you can decide, no, it's important that I stay awake. It's important that I am aware during this meditation. And you can make there a choice of what you follow. You follow the defilements or not. Well, not always sleepiness is a defilement. I must make that side note. Sometimes you're just tired and it's fine. But it can also be a defilement when you're just not interested, for example, in the quiet of the mind. You're not interested in the breath and you become bored and dull. Then it is often a choice. Same for other hindrances. It's actually sometimes a choice that we uh, don't go deeper into meditation. Maybe because we are afraid to go deeper, or we are trying to control things too much, or we are purposely directing our awareness away from deeper happiness and peace. And actually, for example, uh, you keep listening to the sound, or you keep focusing on your body too much, and don't move into the peaceful mind. This is also often a choice. So that is one way to look at meditation. I know that sometimes I have thought what sounds like the total opposite of just sitting there and doing nothing and letting everything happen naturally. And now it seems like I teach the total opposite of that. But actually, the two are not so dissimilar because doing things is the choice often. Not doing things, just letting things happen naturally is going against making too many choices in a sense. I hope that makes sense to you. Sometimes just words can't really describe meditation very accurately. And I'm also running out of words now to describe things, so I will leave my talk at that. And now I'd like to invite you to just be peaceful and happy. But if you are not peaceful and happy, then you can also ask questions if you want. I will have a look at the internet and see if there is any questions on there. Let me see. Many people saying hello. Good evening. Hello, everybody. Hope you hear my gatha, the sound of the bell, and I hope you all awaken and move away from anxiety and sorrow. But I don't see any questions there, so that's good. That's a good sign, because that means you're all all happy and peaceful. Maybe no more questions is it's actually so nice to not have any questions because you know it means you're not thinking too much. Many questions just come from thinking. And they just create lots of suffering for the person who has to answer them. No, I'm kidding. I love to answer your questions, but it's also nice to not have to do so. So, in that case, dear friends, I will leave you for tonight, and I wish you all happiness, peace, and hope you make the right choices in life, that you move away from suffering instead of towards suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.